welcome to the Transforming Trauma podcast. Transforming Trauma is presented by the NARM Training Institute. I'm your host, Sarah Buino, and I'm delighted to have you join us today. Hey, Transforming Trauma listeners. If you're a licensed mental health professional working with complex trauma and you're interested in learning the NeuroAffective Relational Model, we're excited to share with you that there are 2 upcoming NARM therapist trainings starting in January 2022. One of these trainings will be offered in an online format, and the other will be offered in person in San Francisco, California. This Level 2 NARM therapist training is designed to support mental health professionals who work with clients or populations dealing with complex trauma. Being trained in NARM, one of the first clinical models specifically designed to address ACEs and CPTSD, supports therapists to learn how to address the long-term impacts of adverse childhood experiences and complex post-traumatic stress disorder. The NARM therapist training will be taught by NARM senior faculty Brad Kammer and a team of experienced NARM training assistants. You will learn a comprehensive developmental framework and clinical approach. As you're learning and integrating NARM, you will receive individualized support from this team of skilled, passionate, and supportive trainers. If you're interested in this training, we encourage you to register now to reserve your spot. For more information and to register, please visit www.narmtraining.com/schedule. We look forward to you joining our growing international NARM community and are inspired to work with you to bring NARM to your clients and communities in order to transform trauma. The time has come for me to say goodbye as the host of Transforming Trauma. For the past 2 years, I've had the privilege to engage in some deeply meaningful and, dare I say, transformative conversations. Each guest has been unique and inspiring, and I really find it truly incredible the wisdom that we've accumulated through these conversations. I've learned so much as a result of hosting the podcast and from NARM overall. I'm not the same person that I was when we began this adventure 2 years ago. And I'll be forever grateful for the ways NARM has taught me to reconnect with and love myself. I'm tremendously grateful to Brad Kammer for granting me this opportunity, and so appreciative of our admin Tori Essex and our editor Andrea Klunder and all the other folks behind the scenes that have made it possible to share these conversations with the world. The Transforming Trauma team is gearing up for another great year of the podcast, showcasing helping professionals who bring authenticity, depth, and heartfulness into the work they are doing to address complex trauma. So continue looking forward to what's ahead for Transforming Trauma.
All right. Well, welcome to this episode of Transforming Trauma. Really excited to be here with you, Larry, and also to have Emily, who we'll be introducing in a few moments. As we get started, I just wanted to acknowledge that we're finishing off 2021 here. We've had a really big year at the NARM Training Institute. And there's some really exciting changes that are happening in the Institute and also for the podcast. And we're moving into our 3rd year. I can't believe it's gone by so quickly, but we're moving into our 3rd year of the podcast. We're excited to bring Emily on here. And we wanted to first really appreciate Sarah Buino for being the podcast host for these first 2 years. Sarah did such a great job in helping us really fulfill our vision of what we wanted this podcast to be all about. And so we hope you listen to her on her podcast, Conversations with a Wounded Healer, and we wish her the best and really excited to bring you on, Emily.
Thank you.
So I thought, Emily, we would welcome you, of course, and also just give a chance for our listeners to get to know you a little bit.
Yeah, thank you so much for the warm welcome. It's nice to be here with you both.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about, how you found NARM and a little bit about your background?
Sure. So I'm joining you from the desert of Arizona in the US, and I have a pretty eclectic background. So I'll share what feels kind of relevant to how I came to NARM. I started out, my first career was as a movement artist and a choreographer and a teacher. And I really enjoy creating. And so choreography was always more my jam than like performing, which really served me well because my approach to the work could really be about the process and how I was relating to the movement and relating to my body and how the dancers were relating to themselves and their experience instead of really being focused on the product or like an outcome. And so my work was really a lot about embodiment and the experience inside of movement. And then later, when I was pregnant with my oldest son, I became so fascinated with what was happening and going on inside of my body, not just with the pregnancy, but what was really happening with my soul. And it was such a transformative experience for me that after having my son, I trained as a birth doula. And I was really fortunate to work in the birth community, sharing kind of a reverence for that experience that a woman and a baby goes through and during pregnancy and birth. And so the training that I had as a doula was really about creating that environment for a baby to be born with as little trauma as possible. So I deeply appreciated the connection with such a variety of people and from all different backgrounds and giving birth in different settings. But the part that I really loved most in all of that was supporting women in their self-discovery about what they really wanted for themselves in their birth experiences and supporting their agency in owning themselves in that process. So you can probably imagine why this all kind of threading together of what brought me to NARM, it just really aligns so much with how I've approached my life and my work up until that point when I decided to go back to grad school, and I found NARM pretty soon after entering school. So it just felt right. It felt at home pretty quickly.
Yeah, I remember us connecting for the first time at the Meadows down in Arizona, and it seemed like there was a simpatico right away. And I really enjoyed getting to know you. And here we are several years later, and it's really wonderful to invite you into our community in this way.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I would just say in that same vein of like, as hearing the material, and even just in that, first it was a webinar. I saw you on a webinar, Brad. And then I was like, they're coming to Scottsdale, like 20 minutes from my house. And that was just a few weeks after. And so hearing you talk, and then I was lucky enough to be one that had kind of a mini experience, and it was so powerful for me, just that first, and it was maybe 20, 25 minutes. And it was so powerful. Some things that I had been trying to approach and work with in therapy, it was like I felt stuck. And then that 20 minutes just really helped me feel some movement in that way. And so I was hooked. And then entering the training and meeting again, I feel like I found my people. Like everyone was in a similar process and on a path to wherever we're going, but it just felt like I had found something special and important for my own development.
Yeah. And now you've been a training assistant with us, and here you are now as the host of the podcast.
Yeah. So
really,
cool.
Really is.
I just wanted to share my personal welcome. So I'm glad to have you here and to meet you and get to know you. I look forward to getting to know you via the podcasts and maybe in other ways too, as we transition back to live trainings here.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Larry.
I know Emily was considering if she can make coming out to LA.
I'm hoping so. I'm crossing all my fingers and toes.
Yeah. Busy mom with a busy life, but hopefully we can make that happen. Emily, you want to take this over? And
yeah. So first, if I can ask you, Larry, I'd really be interested in what really landed for you or what impacted you in 2021 with NARM.
Many things, really. It's been as Brad mentioned, it's been a year of a tremendous amount of growth of the Training Institute and a number of different directions. And I've collaborated with people outside the Institute in some really significant and interesting projects oriented towards pediatricians and primary care physicians. And there was another collaboration that I did focusing on self-care for physicians who are on, and not just physicians, it started off as physicians, but physicians and everybody who was on the front line of COVID. And I collaborated and contributed there. And then it was a big year in the sense too, that it was the first time that I went back to doing live trainings. I went to Europe this fall. When I agreed to do it, I thought that the COVID situation was going to be better than it was. So it was a little bit challenging, but on the other hand, people were so happy that I was willing to come, even though we were still doing social distancing and wearing masks and being tested regularly, which is what they do in Germany, and going through a lot of bureaucratic stuff that, made sense, but it added to the difficulty of traveling. And nonetheless, the trainings themselves, despite sometimes that I was being beamed into another room because we've social distancing, we couldn't all be together. It went really well. I did 4 different trainings and they all, from my perspective at least, went really well. And the feedback was also very positive. So that was exciting. And then I had a new book come out in German, which is on shame and guilt, which is going to be coming out in about a year's time, or maybe hopefully a little bit less into English. And then, of course, in October, Brad and I delivered our book about the clinical model on NARM to the publisher. So it's been a busy and productive year. And yeah, I'm just happy with all the new directions that we're taking, both as an institute and just how NARM is kind of being taken into the world in an even broader way. So that's all very satisfying.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love all that. I'm so excited. You're just whetting all of our appetites for what's coming. Cool. And then what's coming in the next year? I mean, those books are coming out and What else is on the
So
forefront?
those books are coming out, and I'm continuing with the relatively new immersion program, which is like the postmaster's class level. People who finish the master's class. But we have so many very experienced NARM practitioners, and NARM. There've been many people who've been assisting from a significant period of time, both here in the States as well as in Europe. And I'm just really loving to be able to teach that level of the work and to have, the response to it that I'm getting from people. So I look forward to continuing that journey and adventure that we're all doing together. And, Brad and I keep creating, different podcasts and webinars and other kinds of things. And I'm looking forward to, Brad and I have been brainstorming about kind of a new direction for the podcast. And we've got some new ideas, different people who haven't been on before, people who have specialties in areas that we think that our listening audience will respond to. So, there are many, many things that are happening. Those are just maybe some of them.
Cool. That's like a trailer for 2022.
Right.
Get ready. And Brad, how about you? What about 2021 is alive for you right now?
Well, I'm just really appreciating, Larry, that we developed this postmaster's training, what we call the level 4 training in the United States. And just, watching you find your place. This is the most advanced people in NARM. Larry's been working on building this model and this training thousands of people. And it's just been really rewarding to see you find this place where you get to do this very deep, very important work for people. And I know how much you enjoy going into the depths of that as well. And
I do, Brad. Thanks.
Yeah, so that's been really exciting. And it also just is part of the mission that we have for what we're building is we really wanted to build a community where people that wanted to dive as deep as they wanted to would have a space, and people that just want to kind of dip their toes in could have a space, and everywhere in between. It's my perspective that a lot of us as therapists or helping professionals, we're out there working on islands. We don't have a lot of support, a lot of community. And there's a lot of different organizations that are doing good work, but we really want to bring some of the principles of the NARM model into our community in the form of this mentorship, that people really feel that support. And so we've done a lot in 2021 in that direction. I don't remember exactly how many trainings have completed, but we had at least 2 or 3 level 1 trainings, probably 3 or 4 level 2 trainings, 1 level 3 training. And like we said, we have a lot of people now coming into the postmaster's immersion program. So there's just been really exciting to see the level of growth that we've had and the interest. And people are coming in more educated now about NARM too, which is really fun. The early years, people might have read Larry's book or heard about it, but now people are coming in with a lot more exposure, like you a little bit, like listening to some of the podcasts, watching the videos, webinars, joining us for some of our events. And that's been really fun to see, the people that are coming in and already really aligned with the model. So yeah, and I'm also really excited about this transition with the podcast. Like Larry said, we have, some really exciting ideas that we're wanting to build together. And we have this online inner circle program that Larry and I are continuing to refine. And we're going to be bringing on our other faculty members this year to be doing some more teaching with us. Cool. Yeah, so it'll be great. We've been waiting for Stephanie and Marcia to be ready, and they're now on board and ready to join us. So that, just lots of really great things that we've been part of this year. And I just feel so grateful to be able to be part of this community and to be offering this work to people that want to join us in it.
You mentioned community, Brad, and I just want to emphasize that because part of what's been interesting is how the level 1, as we call it, or the online basics training program, how, we had to ramp up because of COVID, and we ended up reaching people in so many different countries that we wouldn't ever have the possibility, at least at this stage of development, of doing live trainings at. So there's been this international community that's been developing. There's also been an integration of, I've been teaching in Europe for 20 years. There's been an integration of many Europeans with the American community, both in the immersion class and in other situations. So this development of a NARM community internationally is also, for me, really exciting.
I love that. Something for everyone, it feels like. And I'll just say it, having been in on those OBT trainings, how valuable that is for me to experience folks from all different places on the planet and doing all different kinds of work. It's just so great. So yeah, thank you. Okay. And then the coming year, Brad, tell us what's coming up next year.
Well, start with the podcast. Just so excited to have you on board and excited. We've already done some recordings for some of the episodes that will be coming out in the next couple of months. And they're just phenomenal people, both within our NARM community and also people that there's a lot of alignment with that we're excited to get to know more. Larry's going to be having some conversations with some of the kind of big thinkers in the field, and we're excited for those conversations as well. So really excited about the podcast. One of the things that feels most, I'm not sure exciting is a word, but feels most important is that our institute is starting to get more established. When Larry and I first started, we were just doing the best we could, and we weren't really prepared for all the growth that was going to happen. We weren't sure what was really going to happen with this, and it grew very quickly. And then, as Larry said, COVID just took it to a whole nother level. And so we've been playing some catch up to get our institute set up in a way that's going to be supportive to all of us and to take us into the future in a sustainable way, but also aligned with the NARM principles as well, which is very important that we develop an organization that is at the root really relationally based. So that feels very exciting to do. We had some really great webinars in 2021. And looking forward to doing more in 2022, different kinds of webinars that we're interacting with people that are using NARM in different ways. We've done some with cultural trauma. We've done one on working with adolescents and addiction. And there's other webinars that we're really excited to be bringing in 2022. And then just this is both a NARM thing and also a personal thing. I'm checking off a bucket list thing for myself of writing this book. And you heard this weekend, but people were already pre-ordering it. And that kind of gave me a little bit of goosebumps here. And, Larry and I have been working on this book for several years now. And it's really challenging. Larry can speak more to this, but from my perspective, it's pretty challenging to take such a multi-dimensional model like NARM and such a relational and embodied lived model like NARM and to put it into a linear format. It's tricky. And I think we did a good job with it and we're excited. And we hope that it will increase accessibility for people that, for whatever reason can't join our trainings, that maybe they can read the book and learn more about that and hopefully start to apply some of the principles directly in that way. So July 26th is the date. I'm really excited about that date. And hopefully we'll have a little celebration and also, again, just try to get the work out there because it's, again, central to our mission about how much unresolved trauma is at the root of so many of the challenges in our life, in our world. And we're just really committed to doing our part in the trauma-informed movement.
Love it. Thank you.
Just that challenge, particularly in presenting the clinical model in the way that we did in this book, just as you said, this multilinear process and having to do it in written form, which is just a linear process itself. And so that's always challenging. And so I'm also looking forward to that date in July when we get to actually see it.
It's exciting.
How about for you, Emily? What are you looking forward to in 2022?
I'm just really looking forward to hearing from all the folks that we have coming. I've seen a little bit of the list and I'm blown away by some of the conversations that we're going to get to have. Pretty much everything you just named. I'm going to go pre-order those books. And I'm really excited. Trying to not jump out of my chair, but I really am excited.
Yeah, it feels like such a gift to be part of a community that's interested in further learning, further professional development, and also a community that really brings their own experience into it. And I think the way that the trainings are set up and the different learning environments that we create really provides us to bring our whole selves into our professional roles. And again, I just feel like it's a gift to be part of. Sometimes, this word can be very powerful, but it feels like sometimes we're creating a sacred environment, a sacred space together. And I hope that this supports people to go out into the clients or to the populations or communities that they're working with and know that they have a place that they're part of, at least from a professional perspective. And we're excited to continue learning and growing with everyone and look forward to what the future holds for us.
Great. So before we wrap up, I just wanted to check in and see if there's anything else that either of you would like to add about anything that we've discussed or anything new that's coming up for you.
No, just again, glad that you're on board and looking forward to another year and just some very interesting people that we've got in mind for the podcast and also some interesting topics that we haven't had the time yet to cover.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, same with me. I'm just, again, really happy to be having this conversation with you and already enjoying working with you in the different ways we are, including now the podcast. And yeah, really excited for these conversations and learning so much about what people are doing and how they're contributing to the healing. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us for today's episode. To find more about our guest, check the show notes or visit us at www.narmtraining.com/transformingtrauma. The NARM Training Institute also offers the Inner Circle, an online self-paced learning program intended for anyone who is interested in joining an international online community focused on healing complex trauma. You can find more information about these trauma-informed learning programs in addition to other resources on the website, www.narmtraining.com. Thanks to Andrea Klunder and the Creative Imposter Studios for producing and editing, to Tori Essex for our album art, and to Brad Kammer for the creation of this podcast. We look forward to building community and connection with you and changing the world by transforming trauma.